Hey guys, it's Joe and Justin on Tuning Tuesday, Season 2, Episode 2, I think it is. Working on sharing it like you all should be doing right now. If you're good, happy VMP people.
Share it on your Facebook page. So
Also chose to go
with
stuff and things.
Alright, stuff and things.
Now that's shared. So, do we want to talk about what I'm working on testing out there at the moment?
Yeah, I had him throw it on the description for the live feed.
Okay, sweet.
It's no pressure, Joe.
No pressure at all. We're working on Twin 69, testing on 18 F-150 right now. So far, very, very promising. For all those that know what this is, haven't had any fail-safe issues.
We put like 1,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Street driving.
Yeah.
And actually loaned it to some people that were in town.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty darn bulletproof in that respect.
Yeah. And yeah, it should be sweet for the 18F guys. Don't have to worry about a digital converter box or anything like that. I know that there's been some issues with tuning some of the bigger throttle bodies on 18s with converter boxes. But so far, all is well in the 2069.
And we're going to have some dyno numbers shortly here too.
Yeah.
If anybody's curious what an F-150 single exhaust with a Cobra jet and a VMP 2069 makes.
On 93.
Yeah. Not doing corn just yet.
It's got a JLT cold air.
But we will. Oh, JLT cold air, yeah.
Yep.
So we'll run those dyno results as a teaser here soon. But Mr. Joe's working that on the dyno today. And for anybody to put this in context, do you have are we running the video right now, Chris?
They just saw it.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. I wasn't looking at Chris's screen like usual. We get any early questions, Carrie?
People are asking, what do you think of the new Ford car? So how about that new Ford car?
I think it's going to be the great equalizer. It's got the driver mod built in.
Oh gosh, how can you be an Indy MF
and still perform well
in a dual clutch?
Put it in manual mode and think you can shift better than the factory strategy can. That's about it.
Sorry.
Like, to me, when somebody says when they tell me it's got that type of transmission, well, like, what does your hand touch while you're driving besides the steering wheel? I mean, I guess paddle shifters, you got to get used to using your fingertips.
Yep, 10 and 2.
So weird, but should be good for us at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff should go fast at the track.
Guess we'll see how durable it is.
Oh gosh, we will find out.
That's the biggest, scariest thing for me is like, all right, but where's its limit? Because, I mean, you look at GTR stuff, and they're kind of limited to what... I shouldn't say they're limited to what they can do, but there's like that fine line as to what works and what doesn't with those cars.
Yeah, I mean, you upgrade this, you make more power. All right, now you're going to upgrade this, and everything else is going to follow.
Luke Bonzani gives it a thumbs down because no manual. He says, no manual, no thank you.
I would prefer that there was...
electric dial does not equal manual, he says.
I would prefer that there was a manual option because they're historically with Cobra or Shelby or GT500, it's always been manual from 93. But I mean, in the way of the new, manuals have been going away for quite a while now, so it's not like overly surprising. Yeah. I think we speculated about it being DCT for quite a while now.
Yeah, and I actually kind of heard that's why the car took so long to come out, is Ford had to get the DCT to work with the amount of power that it makes.
That, and I mean, they've had problems with Focus DCTs, and those don't make anything for power. So I hope they got someone that knows how to make it work in charge of shift strategy and stuff.
Speaking of horsepower, what were you going to say, Chris?
I think I wrote it to the transmission out of the Ford GT.
Oh, really?
Okay. Technology.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically probably just converted from trans-axle to transmission. Nice.
So Bob Monks is with Michael Siborowski. And they say, what's up, guys? The Gen 3 legal in limited street just got our attention.
Oh, man.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And they want to know Gen 3 weight in limited street.
So we'll talk a little bit about that here in the next few minutes. But to touch on the GT500 stuff, I can't wait to get my hands on one of those cars because I do have one on order with my good old Ford dealer that I always deal with all my Shelby stuff.
What color did you pick out?
I haven't picked one out yet.
Oh man.
But I'm kind of thinking about, I don't know, like orange.
That orange does look sweet.
Executed right, orange can be good, but if you go too far to the yellow spectrum and not completely yellow, then it's meh.
I agree with you 100% on that.
So, I don't know, there's like always, my first Shelby was red. We had a black Shelby, we had an Avalanche Shelby, have another black Shelby.
I really like the Avalanche Shelby. I love Avalanche though. So
Yeah, that's tough. They didn't bring Avalanche back, did they?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. I mean, the new colors are the orange and the green. It's like...
Jonathan Whitaker says go green.
Go green.
Maybe if they had like a dark Highland or a darker green, I'd be more with it.
Neon green is a little...
The Crayola green that I've seen on the 18s, I'm not really a fan of.
He says the green Shelby's look sick.
It's tough, man, because it's like you go too much in the wrong direction, and it's just too much. But we'll be doing all the standard upgrades. I mean, it's a Coyote 5.2, pulleys, throttle bodies, tunes, upgrades to the Supercharger, everything pretty much.
We're getting a whole bunch of happy birthdays to you, Joe.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It is Big Joe's birthday.
I know, I'm
Just
old.
FYI, Douglas is saying happy birthday. Bob Monks, Christy's on here.
Hi, Christy.
Dickerson,
Hey,
she's
Christy.
saying happy birthday. A bunch of people are just giving you happy birthday, so I want to give
I
you
appreciate
a
it,
little love
guys.
So limited street stuff, I know we teased that in the description. NMRA did add the Gen 3 limited street for limited street. NMRA is worried about limited street going too fast. So I know that's been a big topic of discussion with Sabrowski. So they put pulley limits on the blowers. And they basically don't want the 2.3 going any faster than it's going right now. So they have official pulley size limits, which they didn't have, I don't believe they had before. And they also have pulley limits on the Gen 3. So the Gen 3 is allowed under the context that it is equalized to the Gen 2. And the reason I told them they needed to do this is because not many people are buying VMP Gen2Rs anymore. I mean, there's still a fair amount of them being sold, but more than half the people are buying VMP Gen 3s. And I don't want to see those people
Outlawed.
outlawed in a streetcar class. Because that's kind of what limited street is supposed to be, I think. It's entry-level heads-up racing for street cars. So they accepted the Gen 3 as long as you put a big pulley on it. You can work the math and the pulley drive ratios and all that stuff a couple different ways. Basically, there's still the potential to make a crap load of power, even though the pulley is big. We did the math here, and it's equivalent to an upper only of 72 or 69 is what they're calling legal. So how much power have you made with a VMP Gen 3 with that size upper pulley?
A lot. 900 wheel through a manual is pretty common at that level.
Yeah. And that's about what limited street is supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to be like a low 9, high 8 class, which we know you can do with around 900 wheel.
Yep.
I mean, if you've got engine work, heads, cams, you know, you're knocking on closer to 950 wheel. But, yeah, that's kind of the story.
It should be a fun blower for that class.
Yeah.
Mad Max says, hello, VMP crew.
Hi, Max.
Hey.
Nutty50 says, hello, gentlewoman and gentlemen. Hello. Jess Scarland wants to know, can you usually get a pretty good idea of horsepower by measured airflow through a data log on a common setup?
If we're throwing a blanket statement out there, assuming the master transfer function's right, assuming you know distance from MBT, and kind of making a bunch of assumptions, you can get in the ballpark, but at the end of the day, I'd say the only accurate way of measuring horsepower is either A, on a dyno, B, on a track, or C, on an engine dyno.
So he brings up a good point, common setups. But everybody wants to know how much horsepower their common setup makes.
Exactly. And with the NA cars, I'd say there's not as much of a spread in power as there is when you start adding atmospheres or you start factoring in nitrous. But Yeah.
The dynos really, like, we can look at the airflow and the data logs and we can say, oh, this is correct. It should make a dyno number, but the dyno number is going to show you what it makes that day, those conditions, with those tires, that fuel.
That, and we're assuming what type of dyno it is. Because there's a pretty big difference between dynos that are either A, set up correctly, or B, whether you're talking about power numbers from like a Mustang dyno, a dyno jet, a dyno com, a Lancy and Air, Maha. There's all sorts of dynos out there, and I don't know. At the end of the day, your car makes what it makes. Like, put it on a track.
We recently had a situation where somebody had a known low dyno, and they were trying to compare low dyno numbers against gains, and we were doing the tuning, and we saw what we wanted to see tune-wise. So, and I think actually that customer found another, let's see here, 70 or so, might have been 90. 75 horsepower with a throttle body upgrade. So they pretty much saw what they wanted to see. 797.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I was asking Mike about that person earlier to see if he had responded. Did he do that directly to you, or did he respond
He
to the
did
ticket?
directly to me.
Okay.
So,
I'll let Mike know, or if Mike's watching, he'll know now.
Yeah, 75 more horse, Mike, on a dyno that already reads low. So that could be a lot in the real world, but it basically got the customer to where he wants to be.
That works.
Yeah.
Autobahn V8 wants to know, hey guys, will you be dabbling with upgrading the new GT500's blower?
As we kind of alluded to in the beginning, we're definitely going to be doing stuff with the blower. I don't know if it's going to be a complete blower swap or something that you can take the original blower and just do a little bit of modification to it, or bolt on a part that we sell and run it like that.
We know from our sources that Ford did a lot of R&D on that blower, on that whole package to get it to make power. But they still have some limitations as far as using production throttle bodies, production intakes. I mean, it's probably got a freaking closed airbox on it. Imagine that. 750.
Yeah, that'd be weird though, because based on the engine photos that I saw, and I haven't seen engine bay photos, so I haven't seen complete cold air setups and whatnot, but what I saw was 2 map sensors. So I suspect it's speed density and not a kind of like what GM does with a blend of speed density and MAF. So I'd imagine that inlet upgrades are probably going to be fairly easy, and not really have to worry about the mass air calibration side of things.
Nice.
So,
but I think the crutch of it is, will you need something bigger than a 265? Based on what we've got so far and what we're working with our VMP Gen3 line of 265s, I'm not certain you need anything larger. There's other ways to make power that we're finding. Remember the CTSV guys? They actually stopped upgrading their blowers because the 1.9 could be modified to perform better. And there's a chance that we'll find the same thing with the new GT500, or we may not, but we're definitely going to go down all possible avenues.
try everything.
Yeah.
Hashtag science.
Ryan says, I used SCT Live Link for the first time over the weekend to review my data logs. I was wondering, what's the difference between Spark Advance 1 and Spark Advance?
If you're talking like the Parameter Spark Advance V1, that's supposed to be like Spark Advance on cylinder 1. So on like the newer ECUs, Spark isn't the same on every cylinder. There's global statement Spark isn't the same on every cylinder. The factory Ford calibration has modifiers to Spark based on cylinder that will pull Spark or add Spark to certain cylinders, because they know that either that cylinder is a little bit more spark tolerant or that cylinder is a little bit less happy spark wise. And then you also have the factor of individual spark control for NOx sensors that can add spark to certain cylinders and pull it from others.
Yeah, the NOx sensor actually knows which cylinder is knocking and only pulls timing in that cylinder.
That's primarily used in like 18 up stuff.
Yeah.
We do it a little bit in the 15, 17 stuff, depending on what strategy it is, what's done to it, and whatnot.
Give me 1 second. It's in the middle of copying something. Okay.
That's all good.
So Tim says, I wish it was, going back to the 2020, I wish it was a push button like a Lincoln and not the dial from a Fusion Jag
Or Dodge
Rover.
Ram. Ram pickups have been using that since like, I think 13 or 14.
Oh, wow.
Rotary for transmission selection.
Wow.
I think BMW's been using stuff like that for a while too.
Jonathan Valentini says, Ford said that they might be supplying manual transmission for customers that want one.
I find that unlikely. That's a lot.
Jonathan also said happy birthday. Joe Hartman Jr. says enjoying the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Someone else says, yeah, Joe's old now. Cameron says Joe's old.
Ancient, actually.
You're getting a whole bunch more happy birthdays coming in.
Sweet.
Luke and Max.
Everybody.
Eric says, hey guys, real wheel horsepower guesses on an 09 GT500 with JLT123, VMP 67mm throttle body and elbow, 2.5 pulley, off-road X, and one of VMP's boosting tunes. Also, what spark plugs would you recommend and at what gap?
I'd say GR14YS at like a 30 thou gap. On a pulley setup like that with a boosting tune, I'd say probably 550, 560 wheel. It really depends on how aggressive we get with it with boosting. If you tell us you want something that's really aggressive for boosting, we could probably get a little bit more out of it. But just like a safe but a little bit more aggressive file would probably put you closer to that, like 560. If you had long tubes, it'd be a bit better.
And the big thing we do with boosting too is it gives us more octane cushion, so we do not have to pull as much timing with heat soak on that setup. So don't get hung up too much on the peak power number, because the factory supercharger, it's never going to dyno that great on that car. It and then kind of flattens out. But definitely have a quick car and get done what you need to get done.
We have a lot of comments coming in today. Douglas says, happy birthday, Joe. Muscle Car Guy says, I think the GT500s, it's going to give Dodge a good challenge. Nobody even knows the horsepower numbers yet. Jonathan Whitman says you can never lose it on the color. Autobahn V8 says, my guys, my son's first time watching. Joa says hi.
Hi, Joa.
Mad Max says, question. When I do my dyno to see the power gain with every new setup, my dyno guy forgot to add my dyno. His dyno guy disconnects traction control and everything else. Is it required or just has to have the car in drag mode? It's a 2016 GT stick.
You have to basically disable traction control to get a decent dyno number out of those. ABS will actually kick in mid-pull and your rear brakes get real hot and your dyno numbers look like crap.
Yeah, like on a supercharged car, you can lose 100 wheel from the brakes coming on. And it's weird. Like, usually traction control defaults out because the front wheels aren't spinning. For whatever reason, S550, that doesn't always happen. It sometimes comes on and won't turn off. So,
that, or you'll be good one pull, you'll go to make another, and then it'll kick on.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's doing weird things today when it's copying over. It's copying over like people's profile photos. Joe Hartman says, just like in the late 60s, manufacturers' factory power wars bet that they will still fudge the numbers. Talking about the 2020.
I don't know.
I don't think it's fudgeable with SAE testing these days.
Yeah, I mean, with everything going on, the manufacturers, nowadays they're kind of under scrutiny. Ford actually got sued. I've had a Mustang long enough to remember this. They got sued over the 99 Cobra not meeting the horsepower claims.
Yeah.
So, word on the street is that Ford has to put every car on a dyno jet before it is done with development work to see what it makes. And they actually, this will piss a lot of people off, but Ford kind of knows the dyno jet is the standard in the aftermarket, so that's what they run their stuff on.
That and you also have the whole thing where when Ford dyno tests a car, it's not like when the aftermarket dyno tests a car. It has isn't it they have to hold the car at peak power for 15 or 20 seconds or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, they do SAE spec engine dynoing. And as a backup to that, they also dyno it on a chassis dyno. Often at a local performance shop in Michigan.
Oh, man.
I know certain performance shops in Jackson that used to get a lot of
Ford R&D stuff?
Ford development vehicles run across its dyno, and yeah.
Hot damn.
Autobahn V8's other son would like a shout out as well, if you guys would. His name is Javon. Javon?
Hi, Javon.
Hey.
It's Jevon. Eric says, thank you guys and Carrie. Also, happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you, thank you.
Poor Boy says, happy New Year's VMP. So sad the new GT500 is not available in manual. Sounds like we're going to hear that a lot.
Rip. Shifting gears.
Clay wants to know, will you guys have a booth at Ponies in the Smokies?
We'll be there.
I believe we'll also have a dyno at Ponies in the Smokies.
We're going to have the dyno there. We're going to be installing some stuff, tuning some stuff.
Which, heads up, if you hear we have a dyno there and you think, yes, I'll just come there and they'll throw me on the dyno. If you have the intent or plan to put your car on the dyno, please give us a call and get scheduled to be put on the dyno so that when you get there, we have a slot set aside for you to get your car on the dyno.
Even if it's just a dyno pull, you can prepay on our website. We can schedule a time for you. Just makes things that much better.
Yeah, and don't bank on us having availability or openings to get your car on the dyno. You want to get that deposit in to make sure that you have a spot to get your car dynoed.
John Hanlon says happy birthday. It's his too.
Oh, awesome. Twins.
Horse GT says, since you guys no longer turn off the cell on your tunes for no cats, if I were to get it to turn off myself, will it affect the tune in any way?
Just to clarify, it's not a new thing that we've been keeping check engine lights from coming on. We've been doing that for a very long time now. But if you find a way through witchcraft and sorcery to get your light to not come on, that shouldn't affect your tune unless you're like soldering in resistors and stuff into your wiring, and just don't go down that road. If you're going to find a way, find a different way.
Don't do bad stuff to your car just to get rid of that light.
Yeah.
Clint says, hey fellas, an 08 GT500, what driveline weak points to address first once power is upped?
That's how many miles are on the car? So like, I want to know the clutch wear.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the car?
How much power are we talking? Because like 600, 630 wheel, the stock clutch is usually okay. You go that 650, 670, and we usually have issues with cars slipping clutches at that point. But it really depends on the wear on the clutch, like you're saying.
Yeah, so like this is what I tell people. The original ceramic metallic clutch that came in 07s and some 08s was really good at holding power. It didn't last very long. Ford's fix, put an organic clutch in there. It lasts a long time. Not so great at holding power. That
and the TSB or something for that was a PTFE-based Ford lubricant on the input shaft to keep the clutches able to move freely on the input shaft and keep them from wearing out on the faces, from sticking.
Yeah, so you had that aspect too, you know. Gosh, there was a nickel-plated input shaft in combination with that PTFE lube at one point that everybody was getting.
Man, throwback. The days of old manual GT500.
Right, frick. Hey, maybe mine will be worth more now that since it's still got a manual in it.
Everyone, all the Facebook experts have been like, "Oh, I'm going to keep my 1314 now because it's the last real GT500."
Oh gosh, like, the internet! You gotta love it,
guys.
Douglas says, "I have a 14 GT500 long tube headers. I want to get a Gen 3. Do y'all have an adapter for the stock throttle body, and can I go with any pulley?"
We have an adapter for the stock throttle body. You can go with any pulley that fits on our snout, all the way down to a 2.4 up to, I think we have a 3.0 is the largest right now.
Yeah, we've actually got some 3.3s now.
Okay, sweet. Too. So anywhere from a 2.4 to a 3.3 upper pulley you can go with. Are there any hood clearance issues with a 3.3 on GT500?
It's going to be close.
Okay.
It's going to be very, very close.
I remember the stock blower is a 3.0.
Yeah, 3.0 on
But
the
the center of a pulley on a M122 I think is a little bit different than Gen 3. Like
slightly
base plate
lower.
to center.
Yeah.
Muscle Car Guy wants to know what kind of power numbers do you think the new GT500 is going to make in real world? Do you have any guesses?
Let's get out my calculator.
A dang old calculator.
We know it's a 5.2 Coyote based engine, conventional crank.
And although it's automatic, it's basically a manual.
Yeah, so it's going to transmit. It probably has a 1-to-1 gear. Does it have a 1-to-1 gear?
Haven't looked yet. Sounds like Mike's making that dyno pull for me.
Nice.
Figured we were a little tight on time.
There's no reason. So you figure the old GT500 was rated at 660, but would often dyno 580 to 600 wheel. I even saw some that were like 610, 615 on a really cold day. So we know Ford's got to beat their old 5.8, 2.3 TVS Trinity type numbers. So I just calculated crank horsepower back to wheel because the wheel's going to be the bogey to hit. I'd say it's going to dyno at least 650 wheel, maybe 675 wheel.
I'd say it's probably accurate, and it's, as we try to tell people with dyno numbers, even with our blower, it's going to depend on how happy the knock sensors are and the quality of the fuel.
Yeah.
Like, is the number that they're giving out based on 93, kind of like how some of the 11 to 17 Coyotes, they had to put the clause out that, hey, this is how much it makes on the recommended fuel, and this is how it makes on how much it makes on 93.
I remember GT500, 13, 14 had an asterisk on 93 octane premium fuel.
Yeah.
So if we calculate 650 to 675 to crank horsepower, that's 750 to 800 wheel. That's a pretty Hellcat destroying number.
Good times.
Yeah. They'll probably call it 750 and it'll be a little underrated. My theory.
Bubba Blue says he shared it on Instagram and Facebook. Hopefully it'll get a little of traction.
Thanks, Bubba.
But he wants to know, what's the difference between cross plank crank and the flat plane crank? GT500 versus GT350.
So I was cleaning out the old shop. And I found the model crank that came with my GT350.
Dang.
Unfortunately, I sold it on eBay last week for like $150.
Sad.
Also sold it with the oil filter and the oil filter wrench.
Dang.
So,
you're selling everything on eBay last week.
I have been, yeah. Cleaning out the old shop, the old office, all the little odds and ends. Selling quite well, actually.
That's awesome.
But, so I remember looking at it. All the throws are 180 degrees from each other.
They're on the same plane. That's basically the easiest way to describe a flat plane. If you look at the crank out of the car, you could basically lay it flat on a table and it won't roll over. If you look at a cross plane, I think it's every 90 degrees. There's another like bank. It's not like
another throw.
Yeah.
So, and basically that means two cylinders share the same journal, just mechanics of building crankshafts. So you end up having some cylinders that fire at the same time on a cross plane.
Yeah, and then I think it's usually like doot, 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 kind of like that. As my fingers dancing on the table. That's the easiest and best way I know to describe it. Is basically one is catered more towards higher RPM, lower rotating mass because it's all on one plane. You don't have a crank that's going like 3 different directions.
Yeah, so some was it like Ferrari V8s and stuff like that. They've got flat planes, but they're small, like 4.5 liter displacement. I think
the fact that they're flat plane allows the crank to be lighter because there's less material, less counterweights going different directions and stuff.
Downside to GT350 with flat plane crank. Very vibration prone. You start a GT350 up, it feels like it has a different vibration than a regular Coyote.
Yeah.
And it's not as durable. All the race teams have stopped using 5.2 flat plane based cars, engines. And I say race teams, the road race teams.
And for those that have good ears, that's Twin 69 testing happening outside right now.
Yeah, that truck sounds wicked with the cover jet manifold when you floor it.
That and it's that stock exhaust, so all you hear is induction noise.
Especially with the 10-speed, you're going through the gears. Wah, 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 wah.
All of it.
Yeah.
Do the flat plane cranks on the 350s not handle boost well?
I hate this question.
Yeah.
Just because there's, and because I know we have kids watching, they're like opinions. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
We kind of went off of Ford engineers' advice of don't boost a GT350, but there's plenty of people out there that have done it. I haven't seen a crank failure, but that's not to say that.
Haven't seen one run a number either.
Yeah, haven't seen them out at the track going fast either. So.
Haven't seen them run a dyno. They're really good at running dyno numbers, but no track numbers.
I've seen turbo cars make decent power, like the Fat House Fab stuff and stuff like that. But I mean, it should make power.
It's got awesome
It makes power
head flow.
NA, add atmosphere, and
Yeah.
you got a recipe for good power.
12-to-1 compression, great airflow.
Yeah.
It's a 5-liter on steroids.
Clint, who asked earlier about what driveline weak points to address first once power's upped on a GT500. His car has 20,000 miles, clutch replaced, Ford updates design 2,000 miles ago. 700 to 800 to the wheel.
I'd say you're probably going to have to upgrade that clutch if you plan on doing any spirited driving with the car with that power.
Yeah, sticky tires, fast shift, power shifts.
I do a one-piece drive shaft. Other than like a clutch, a drive shaft, and a sticky tire, I'd say there's nothing you really have to worry about from a driveline standpoint. At least not at that level.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do that on 93, just be aware 700-800 horsepower on 93 is pretty tricky. 700 wheels a bit more realistic than a 800 wheel, but octane's definitely going to be your friend.
Ron says, I have a 15 Roush RS3 Phase 1 PP with 3.73s. I want to swap pumpkins with a non-PP Ecoboost 315 gears. Goals are Phase 2 LTH. My car won't see the track, only street fun. Are there any concerns?
Just make sure you swap the diff cover over, because the performance pack cars have the diff temp sensors, and if you don't swap that over, you'll get a code in the cluster for it's basically like diff temp sensor over threshold or something like that.
And I will tell you, I feel like there's a chance that they didn't add the diff temp sensor in 15 yet.
Okay.
I don't know if the 15 performance pack cars had it. Was there a 15 performance pack?
I want to say so. BJ's Ecoboost had a performance pack.
Okay.
And I think brain fart. Local guy to us, Ruby Red Car.
Yep.
His car is performance pack.
Okay.
Brad's car was performance pack.
Oh, yeah.
And wasn't Astros, Tony, was Astros performance pack as well?
He might have been. Yeah. But you'll see it. It's a brass temperature sensor, so you just get it moved over with the cover. But yeah, otherwise, and speed is actually picked up off an ABS sensor on S550, so you don't even have to recalibrate your speedo. But if someone's tuning your car, you should have them let them know so they can put the proper calculations in the PCM.
Dave says, I have a non-intercooled Paxton with a relocated IAC sensor to the intake manifold. I want to convert to an intercooled BOV kit. Can I just relocate the MAP housing and sensor to the cold side and leave the IAT sensor in the manifold? Sorry for the long question. It's a 3-valve 07 GT.
Absolutely, and we make the parts to do that. Just leave your wiring and your air temp sensor in your intake, and then just, we've got like a 75mm MAF housing and sensors with enough range, or you can do a weld-on flange. Aluminum, steel, or stainless.
All of them.
Bubba Blue says, happy birthday, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Jeff Smith and Rick Cackness are on here.
Oh, Cobros.
Cobros
like,
Unite.
Jeff is like, what's up, broadies?
Oh, man.
And he's telling Rick to get back to work.
Jeff, shouldn't you be at work, Jeff?
I wonder if they're doing the same thing that I do when I'm watching stuff like this. Or I just kind of, I have it on in the background. I don't need to see their faces.
Just listen to it while you work, yeah.
Yeah, I'll either listen to it while I work or like while I'm driving. I'll just have it on.
Abdul says, hello, I have a 13 GT. I have an X4 SCT device. Can I know alcohol percentage using it? Or do I have to buy the N gauge?
You can know alcohol percent as long as flex fuel is enabled in your calibration. That's actually a data loggable parameter with SCT.
Victor says, hello guys, great show. Joe, smile, it's your birthday.
What you don't know is that this is me smiling. This is a...
That's pretty truth.
I laugh and then like I look like this. That's like the 2 stages of me.
RBF.
Yep.
RBF.
That is true. You smile sometimes.
I have a poker face.
Where's the Vert GT500?
What
Alan
Vert
is asking,
GT500?
where's the Vert GT500? Wink, wink.
Oh, they're asking about 2020. My personal opinion is it doesn't need to exist. S550 convertibles, I've driven quite a few of them and I don't like any of them. The chassis just feels like it has a lot of resonance to it, and I don't like it.
You know, I would say there's a chance Ford may just say, no, we're not building it.
Yeah.
Because of the power levels of the car.
I don't think it's going to be power so much as it is the handling aspect.
Oh.
I mean, with what they're probably doing with it from a durability testing standpoint, I think don't get me wrong, S550 convertible is probably significantly stronger than S95 and S197 convertible, but I just don't think it's going to live up to Ford's durability tests for GT500.
Yeah. And the handling and the NVH and everything else, like, keep the convertible to the GT and the Ecoboost. It's just, like, I feel like we're seeing less and less convertible Mustangs. Maybe that phase is on a downward trend.
Yeah. Although, in other news, the Explorer ST was announced, and all I can think is, Ford, get your crap together and build a fast 4-door manual option car that is front engine, rear wheel drive.
It's simple. You put the engine in the front, you put the crankshaft parallel with the car,
Even Kia has one now, guys. The Scorpion.
Yeah.
SS is dead now, so that doesn't count. CTSV.
They killed the CTSV too, didn't they?
They did?
I thought they did.
Do they have the ATSV still?
I don't know. Can anybody get confirmation on that?
Oh man.
Yeah, I thought.
I was really hoping we'd be getting something that's 4-door.
Oh.
I don't need it, but I want Ford to come out with a fast 4-door.
Is there a Charger Hellcat or something like that?
Yeah, there's Charger Hellcat.
Let's just supercharge the Exploder.
They have an Explorer ST. They announced it yesterday.
I know.
It's like
400 horsepower.
I think it's the 3-liter V6 out of the Lincoln stuff. But
there's a 19 CTSV.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay. Ford, we need something like that.
The Kia Stinger.
I know you're probably not watching, but like, please give us something to fight these people with.
The Kia Stinger.
We don't need 3 performance packages on an Explorer.
ST.
Oh, they have like an ST, and then they have an Explorer ST track package.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like,
So are they trying
no.
the Jeep?
It's not a competition with the Jeep. That's the problem. Like, especially when you
horsepower.
compare to the
totally different
Trackhawk.
things.
Yeah, you're talking like 770 or something in the Trackhawk, and you get a 400 horsepower Explorer. What are you gonna do with that?
What are you going to do with that?
You're gonna instigate something you can't handle. Is all you're gonna do.
Mark says he would like to see a shop walkthrough at some point just to see what we're currently working on.
Oh, I was gonna say we've done like 5 or 6 of those, but if you want to see a current one, I'm sure we could get Max out there with a GoPro or something.
Hey, like in a week, we're going to release a video how we got a car for $1. So speaking of shop stuff, because we're out in the shop shooting that. How we got 2 cars for $1.
Yeah. Poor boy says happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
The Goblin says, what spark plug gap do you recommend on a 69mm pulley and a VMP Gen2R?
We'll assume stock compression. I'd go about 27 thou.
You said 30 thou earlier, Joe.
That was on a GT500 with a 2.5 upper.
Oh, so that was less cylinder pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So it can make less horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to run less RPM.
Yep.
So are you telling me spark plug gap is proportional to how much power you're going to make and how much RPM you're going to run?
I don't know so much about RPM, but RPM could dictate power, which dictates heat, which dictates different gaps and different heat ranges of plugs.
Makes perfect sense.
Bubba Blue says 2 cars for $1. You forget to mention the favors you had to do. I'll be watching that video for sure.
Oh, Jesus!
There's children watching.
Oh my gosh. We had to bust our ass.
Wait,
That's the only favors.
And I will say, wait, it wasn't 2 cars for $1, so they weren't 50 cents a piece. It was $1 a piece per car.
Yeah.
That, and how much does the insurance cost for the period of the program, a year and a half?
If you want to count the regular car insurance plus the extra insurance, probably about $10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all the promotional materials.
Don't give it away yet.
We can't talk about.
We have a video coming out.
Yeah.
Nerd Kid says, I've heard you mention multiple times recently about branching into other markets, aka LS/Mopar. Is that in terms of selling parts or tuning and development products, aka 2650 rotor packs?
All of the above, as far as I'm aware.
Yep. We're going to do it.
There should be some exciting news on that in the near future. Luke says Midway Mustang should have a lot of GT 500 engine swaps available soon.
Sweet.
I think he was referring to the new 2020 coming out. But Jojo from California says, hey guys, I have a question. What's the ideal diff gear for a 12 Boss 302 Procharger on 10 PSI?
Now we're calling them diff gears.
Great show.
Rear differential gear ratio or axle ratio.
I'd say if you have a similar to stock size tire with that Procharger, those 373s are probably a good gear. If you have a torque booster set up and you're on like 14 pounds and it comes up on it pretty quick, maybe like a 355. But at the end of the day, what type of driving are you doing with it? Is this like is this 1/8 mile, 1/4 mile, 1/2 mile, 1 mile racing type stuff that you plan on doing? I'd say if you're planning on doing mile stuff, maybe a pretty tall gear to keep you out of 6th, because being that it's a Boss MT82, your 5th gear is 1-to-1, then you have a pretty significant drop in it going into 6th gear.
Yeah, all the mile stuff's like 273.
Yeah.
But you bring up a good point. A centrifugal blower on a high RPM motor needs a lot of gear just to get spun up. So 373 from the factory is not bad. But if you're running a little bit more power, torque booster, maybe a D1, higher pressures, then 331, 355.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, with a VMP Gen2 and a like 700 wheel on that type of setup, more like 331, like a GT gear, is definitely better than like the 373 Performance Pack or Boss 302 gear.
I'd say you probably like a TR6060 though. That or Calmer MT82.
Yeah,
Depending
that
on
would
what power level
take care of a lot of things.
Mitchell says, I am in multi-platform domination. Mitchell Page.
Hey, Mitchell.
He's
Does
in.
he still have his cars? I thought he was selling
I don't
them.
know. He sold them. He's going to buy a trailer, come live out back, and work here during the day. So
Okay. See you then, Mitchell.
he's going to sweep the floor.
I see you, Mitchell. I see you.
Jonathan Whitaker says it's time to buy a Hellcat.
Time to buy a Hellcat. Oh, man.
I know Whitaker's thirsty for a Hellcat.
He's thirsty for a Hellcat.
Thirsty. He went on one of those ride-alongs at Meekum where they had the Challengers.
Oh,
I
really?
think they had some Chargers there too. But they basically just had like a parking lot where they were hooning around, as the kids say these days.
Justin Young just came on. He said, hi, guys and gals. Great episode. He says he wants to see a 2020 GT500 with some welds and the TH400 Power Glide.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Oh, man. First thing we do with our GT500, take out the DCT.
Well, my question is, a TH400 Glide, so that's like the Turbo 400 converted to a 2-speed?
Oh, shit. Yeah, you caught that. I didn't. Fuck.
Or is that just...
Yeah, that's just use second and third.
Yeah.
Delete first gear, take out, which first gear has a bunch of anti-rotation in a Turbo 400, so it's actually efficiency-wise.
It's better to convert it to a 2-speed.
And I guess it's stronger than a Glide. So it's a bigger case. There's more room for guts and stuff in it, I think.
Impressive.
Jonathan says, just to be clear, the Fox isn't going anywhere now that the new motor's being built.
Oh.
He's doing high compression cam things.
So he's gonna get himself a Hellcat as well, and then have the Foxes also.
I guess so.
That could be interesting. Mitchell came back and said he also fetches a mean lunch.
Oh, great.
So I guess he'll be our lunch caddy.
Well, you know what, Mitchell?
Is he going to be the new grill boy?
Can you fish?
And Luke is like, at least the Hellcat has a manual option.
Because we got catfish out back.
I think there's a, not to talk crap, but I think there's a disconnect in Ford between what they perceive the consumer wants versus what the consumer actually wants. And I don't know if that's because we're in a very focused group.
I can tell you, no, it is basically illustrated in Talladega Nights. Basically, we're like Ricky Bobby.
We want to go fast.
Ford thinks we're like the French dude. I mean, come on, why would you make a car that's all about the handling? People don't drag race it, they drive around corners with it.
The food trough whop air.
Joe, can you do the French voice?
Oh man, I just did. I quoted him.
Okay, sorry.
Food trough whop air.
Jesus, I didn't even realize it.
It was one of the insults that he threw at Ricky Bobby when they met.
I just want to go fast. Rebecca will appreciate that.
IC50 says, what are the important things to consider for a nitrous Gen 2 Coyote?
Buy the right kit first. Don't cheap out on a nitrous setup.
Don't take the jet out.
Yeah, definitely leave the jets in. Do not hook up like a -6 hose to your intake off a mother bottle with no jet. Expect it to live for a while.
Better yet, don't hold the mother bottle in front of the engine during the dyno pull.
No. How to blow up the whole building.
Oh, man.
Nitrous backfire into a mother bottle. Ooh.
Oh, man. Anyways, more seriously, Joe was going along a serious track, and I steered you off.
It's all good. Get a quality nitrous kit. I know JMS has quite a few packages for like everything you need from a nitrous standpoint, and I know a lot of the nitrous manufacturers like Nitrous Express. All those guys really just have good packages. There's even, if you have an S550, one of them, I think it's Nitrous Express, has the console and activation switches that slides into the like coin holder. So you like pop it in, you can't see it, you click it, it pops out, you have all your arming switches, your purge, your heater, all that stuff right there.
And we carry all that stuff at VMP. And the gist of it basically is that you want to have, when Joe says a quality nitrous kit, you want to have...
I don't want to see a micro switch under the pedal with a dry nozzle.
An electric watt switch.
And it's not to say that stuff won't work, but you rule out a lot of...
weird electrical gremlins and shit like that when you have the right stuff.
That and potential bad stuff happening, like you hitting the limiter while you're on a micro switch that's mounted under the pedal that's not RPM activated and stuff like that.
So RPM and watt activation saves your motor because you can only spray nitrous at watt above a certain RPM, and you need to turn it off a couple hundred RPMs before the rev limiter. Yep,
and there's like some of those controllers out there monitor bottle pressure. If bottle pressure is too high, it deactivates nitrous. If bottle pressure is too low, it doesn't activate at all. Stuff like that.
If you're anywhere below like 85 degrees, you need a bottle heater to keep the bottle at the correct pressure. Just need to know your pressures. Run a wet kit that injects fuel too. You'll be in business.
And depending on what size shot you plan on running, a standard fuel system isn't a bad idea.
52-pound injectors, Gen2R, 17 GT, and a fuel pump booster.
And that's going to be the setup on the car that's running nitrous?
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Since you already got a blower.
Oh no, sorry, he's running that. He's doing multiples. Never mind, forget that.
Okay.
That's for another question that just came in.
It's all good.
Well, let's just throw them shot sizes before we finish up. Naturally aspirated 125. Joe, will we tune for 150?
Yeah, I'll tune to 150.
Yeah.
I'd prefer that it's on like a single plane manifold instead of something that you have to worry about fuel puddling and stuff. But
single plane would be like a Boss or a Cobra Jet.
Yeah.
150 shot. If you're doing it with a blower, 50 to 75.
Yeah, just keep it. It's basically use the advantage of the cooling of nitrous and a little bit of the bang.
A little bit of nitrous goes a long way on a blower setup.
Heads up, we got 6 minutes left, guys.
I was just going to say, we have 6
some
minutes left. I have a whole bunch of questions that we need to try to get through. So I'm going to tell everybody, I'm going to read the questions that we have, but I'm going to kind of put a cutoff on it.
Okay,
I don't think we'll
sounds
get through
good.
them all.
Yep.
Slab Check says, I like the new transmission. You can never shift that fast, less than 10 milliseconds. So many YouTube GT500s fall behind during shifting. So he likes it.
So I was saying earlier, the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Mad Max says, Joe, see if you can get something more aggressive for my Mustang tune, and might be a 79mm pulley instead of an 82 Gen 3 with TJ69.
Perfect.
He's looking to go full send.
John Hanlon wants to know, is the price of programming going up after the 18th as well? For tunes, I guess. Or programmers?
For some levels of tuning, yes. But maybe...
Handhelds as well?
I don't think
Devices?
handheld programmers
Just
are going up
labor.
in price.
Okay. Rick says, does VMP have a VMP logo parachute that would fit a black vert? It would be cool to see the huge VMP logo when the laundry's thrown.
Let's see what we can do, Rick.
Roush 727 says, do you suggest BP or Shell 93 octane for optimal fuel?
Those are both pretty high quality fuels. I'd say try and go to the one that has the highest amount of traffic, or you can back-to-back test both fuels. Try and do 2 tanks from each station before you consider one valid results. But you can look at how much timing advance you're running, or how much knock sensor advance you're getting, or knock sensor retard you're getting on each fuel, and kind of make your own judgments based on that.
K1500 says, are you ever going to make a blower for an LS engine?
I'd say that we're not against it. It's one of those things that we just got to look at doing.
Mad Dog says, in your opinion, what works better to help horsepower, header exhaust wrap or a thermal header coating?
I don't know that.
I'd say from a, let's call it road racer, is looking to get the most out of his setup and the most consistency from not increasing engine bay temps. And if he has a cold air, from not pulling in the heat in from the engine bay as quickly. I'd say that you have to be on a pretty low speed course for that to make a lot of a difference. Probably call it sub 70, 80 miles an hour. But I'd say the amount of horsepower between a wrap system and a ceramic coated inside and out is going to be small, but I think the ceramic coated inside and out is going to make more of a difference. I'd just be curious how you get it all the way into the primary.
And I'd be, I think a lot of the road racers do that too for the driver, because the driver can get really hot in a road race car. You know, there's some theories that the hotter an exhaust system is, the better it flows, so I can see insulating it. But I mean, on a street car stuff that we're doing, you're counting. I don't think it's stuff you can measure on a dyno. Put it that way.
Not accurately, at least.
Yeah.
All of that same branch, you ran your boss and Rebecca's original headers both had what looked like a white ceramic coating. Do you know which one that was?
It was Swain Tech ceramic coating. It's about 15 to 20 thou thick, so it actually looked like a white. Yeah, it was thick.
Yeah, it looked like a white fuzziness to it.
Yeah, it would grow when it got hot. Get little bubbles on it and stuff. Crazy.
Alexander says, I have a Gen 3 on my 13 GT. How can I swap the 69 pulley for 85 without changing the belt?
Use a smaller idler, but it's going to be close.
You could use an MFP crank support kit.
Oh yes, that's very true too. Has adjustability on the tensioner.
That is a bit more of an expensive route to go, but it's not only for belt stuff. It's keep your crank nice and happy.
Oh, sorry.
That's all fine.
Yeah.
We're good.
Horse GT says, is a tune update needed when changing tire sizes?
Depends on the platform. I'd say largely speaking, manual cars, a tune update is not required. Auto cars, it's a little bit more of a rigmarole when you change tires. But if you have a question as to whether or not a tune update is necessary, hit us up with your specific platform and kind of like the difference between the tires that you're looking at going with. If you're going from like a 27-inch tall tire to a 25, it's going to make a lot more of a difference going from that to like a 27.2 to a 27. New shirts?
By the way, I'll slip this in here real quick. We did kind of a shirt with a little minimalist VMP logo right here on the front.
Is this Fruit of the Loom cotton?
Oh yeah, apparently it is.
Oh man.
And then we've got VMP drag strip scene on the back. So we'll get these up on the website next week. If you need one right away, just call in and order one.
I think I saw
So it's got an F-150 and a
GT500.
a 12 GT500. I was joking around with, I think it was Mike, and I was like, one of these should have had a red light.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the truck just so that like he had the chance against a GT500.
Right.
Kind of like that. Go on the third honk, goes on second honk.
Oh yeah.
Jason says, do you have dyno lock tunes to keep 11 to 12 Mustangs locked into fourth gear for dyno runs?
Yeah, just let us know that you need one and we can get you hooked up.
Derek says, is the cylinder lining in the Gen 3 Coyotes the sample?
The sample of what?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's asking. Bubba says, wow, thanks for clarifying. Do y'all still think Ford went with 5.2 then? Why do you think Ford went with 5.2? Why not go balls to the wall and throw a 6.2 or at least a 5.8 from the previous GT500?
They already had the engine.
That and the 5.8's kind of outdated technology in comparison with Coyote-based stuff. As indicated by 5.2 liter making pretty good power compared to the 5.8.
Yeah.
JR the Czar. Why is my 18 GT throwing a P061B code internal torque module?
I don't know.
Did they do that if they sat on the rev limiter between shifts? Or was that another code?
I don't think that code was if they sat on the rev limiter during shifts.
Slab check, we didn't have the shirt available yesterday. If they have not sent out your pump boosters, I will see about getting a shirt in your order if you still want one. Chris, we just got them in today. Chris says S550 with 315 gears, 6R80. Am I better off leaving just cold air intake header and 93 tune, or is it worth it to also do a manifold swap for a street car?
Depends on what you're trying to get out of it. If you're looking to squeeze every horsepower you can out of the setup, and I shouldn't say money isn't too much of a concern, but the dollar per horsepower you're willing to spend is pretty high, then depending on which intake manifold you're talking about, I'd say it's worth it. On a street car with a 315 gear, I'd say that a CJ setup probably isn't going to be worth it. After you get into it for drop motor mounts, the manifold itself, the throttle body, the cold air, all that stuff. But if you're looking to do more of a budget-oriented setup like the 18 manifold, that I'd say that there's more dollars and cents in that setup. And that's cents like SE and SE, not a CENTS, for those that caught the pun and those that didn't. Yeah, I guess it depends on your goal, how much you're willing to spend to get X amount of horsepower out of it. But an 18 manifold, in my mind, is worth it for some cars.
Yeah, definitely, like Joe said. Now, if you want to rep hard at the car show, the CJ looks badass.
It do. That and Boss 302 intake manifold looks pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Too. We are about 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes past. We still have a whole list of questions. I think we'll just, if we don't cut them off, we're going to be here all day.
Yeah, we'll have to hit everybody up. I love the participation, man. 2019 has been great. The past two shows, thank you, everybody.
The hype for Season 2 is real.
Yeah. Season 2 is going to be great.
If you want a Season 3, keep it up.
I have to laugh about this one comment, though. John Shipe, or Shipe, S-H-I-P-E, says, I need a 2650 for my Terminator. And then he says, I'll sponsor VMP. And I laugh because wouldn't that be VMP sponsoring you?
Hey, you know what, man? If you want to come pay the bills for a month, we'll do whatever. You know? So.
Oh man, I think you could buy a lot of stuff in the catalog for that amount of money.
Yeah.
So.
But if he wants to look at it a different way, that he's not spending money on product directly, then sure.
Yeah. Start with Joe's birthday present.
Yeah.
If you want to sponsor VMP.
Exactly. No, don't even buy me a birthday present. Just buy some of my cars so I can do other stuff.
Grant's chiming in. He says, I'm with Wayne. Wayne had asked just before we did the cutoff. I mean, right after we did the cutoff, is when are you going to get an early start on the new GT500?
It's all about that order.
It's going to be awesome.
All right, with that said,
I know Grant's thirsty for one.
Thanks, everybody. Make sure you like this for Joe's birthday and share it with your friends and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed, and we will see you next time.
Sweet.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.